Ahead of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's meeting with President Donald Trump, the Kremlin is claiming new territorial gains in eastern Ukraine. So Moscow appears to be increasing pressure, but are those claims true? This footage, released by the Russian Defense Ministry, allegedly shows Russian flags being waved in the Ukrainian town of Miron. But information from the front line is difficult to verify, and while independent experts confirmed the location by matching layouts and roads to satellite imagery, the date of the video could not be verified. Now, if you look at the map, you can see Miron is a small town in the Donetsk region. Russia uses the old Soviet name of the city, Dmitrov. The other town Moscow claims to have taken is Hulyapolye, a small town in the Zaporozhye region. The Kremlin released 3 images allegedly showing Ukrainian military vehicles being hit in Hulyapolye. Ukraine rejects all of those claims as, quote, not supported by facts, saying the situation there was difficult, but that both cities were still being defended. And for more on this, we can talk to military analyst Marina Miron from King's College London. Marina, is there any way to verify what's actually happening on the front lines right now?
Good day, Melissa. Well, it's very difficult to verify because the information from both sides is conflicting, and there are not a lot of independent mappers who can show footage and geolocate footage. Also, there is a problem of course, knowing the exact date when the footage appeared. That being said, looking at all the information available, it is safe to say that Mironograd is surrounded. The Ukrainian armed forces are trying to break out a corridor in the north of Mironograd in order to help the troops get out of the city. So the situation is very dire, even if it's not completely taken. It doesn't look good for the Ukrainian armed forces. Mironograd, again, is a city which is east to Pokrovsk, being a very important logistical hub for the Ukrainian armed forces. And now that the Russians have almost taken control of Pokrovsk, of course, Mironograd remains an important stronghold, and it's important for the Russians to take Mironograd in order to avoid a potential attack direction Pokrovsk. And another one in Zaporizhia, Hulyapolye, as you mentioned, again, possibly not completely taken, but very close to being taken by the Russian armed forces, judging by the footage. However, of course, the Ukrainian side doesn't confirm this. And in light of the political developments and the meeting with between President Trump and President Zelenskyy, it wouldn't be favorable for Ukraine to confirm Russian advances there.
And what effect will Russian successes on the battlefield have on the upcoming talks between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy in Florida?
That's an interesting question because it depends on how President Zelenskyy uses this to convince President Trump. He could say, for instance, that you see the Russian forces are advancing, we need more aid, and we need more aid from the Americans. The Europeans have already approved 90 billion in aid. Therefore, we need your military equipment and so on and so forth. That could be used as a weakness, could be used as a strength in the negotiating position. But of course, from the other perspective, President Trump could say you have no chance to win and you have to accept whatever conditions are dictated upon you. So there are different ways, and it all depends on the diplomacy and how this is being presented by the Ukrainian side to the American side. But objectively speaking, of course, it strengthens the Russian position. And that is the reason why the Russian Ministry of Defense was very quick to say that both Mironograd and Hulyapolye have been taken by the Russian armed forces to demonstrate again that the Russians will continue the war and will achieve their political aims by military means if no peace agreement is reached.
Military analyst Marina Miron from King's College London, thank you very much. Moscow has repeatedly insisted that Ukraine give up all of the Donbas region, even areas still under Kyiv's control, ahead of the upcoming meeting between the Ukrainian leader and the U.S. president in Florida. The Kremlin released a video showing Vladimir Putin in military uniform. In it, Putin warns that Russia is prepared to escalate the fighting.
Going by what we're seeing along the line of contact and the speed of movement, our interest in the offer of the Ukrainian military formations withdrawing from the territories they currently occupy is practically zero, for various reasons. And if Kyiv authorities are not willing to end the matter peacefully, we will achieve all the goals we have in the special military operation by military means.
We can speak now to our DW Russia analyst Konstantin Eggert in Vilnius. Konstantin, it seems like Putin is not too interested in Zelensky's offer to demilitarize the Donbass. What do you make of Putin's comments?
Well, it's very standard Putin attitude and practice. First of all, showing up in military uniform. Well, frankly, he doesn't need it. Everyone knows he's the commander-in-chief of the Russian armed forces. And secondly, essentially ignoring the offer made by Zelensky to demilitarize the areas of Donbas, which are actually still under the control of Kiev, of the government in Kiev, and essentially saying we're going to go forward. We're going to continue the war unless you just surrender it to us. So that means that essentially from day one of the Trump initiative to arrange some kind of ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, Putin didn't move from his initial position that all of Donbas, even those parts of it that are not now under Russian control, has to be ceded by Ukraine.
So what I'm hearing from you, I mean, many analysts suggest that Putin actually doesn't want to stop the war. What do you think is Putin's strategy here?
Well, I'm completely convinced that he doesn't want to stop the war. His strategy is based on his idea of demographic advantage that Russia has over Ukraine. And it is indeed Russia's, in terms of population, Russia's bigger than Ukraine, nearly 4 times. So he also thinks that this administration is not going to, American administration, not going to provide Ukraine with decisive help, like, let us say, cruise missiles, to push the Russian army back and to inflict serious damage on Russian infrastructure. So he thinks that he can sit it through and, by being just stubborn, grab more and more territory and essentially wear Ukraine down, because his ultimate goal remains the same. It is a change of government in Kiev and basically turning Ukraine into a Russian protectorate with a pliant government in Kiev.
So even if Zelensky manages to get on the same page and Trump agrees to the updated 20-point plan, you don't believe the U.S. president can convince Moscow to reach any kind of agreement?
Melissa, the short answer is yes, I'm convinced he will not be able to do that. The slightly longer answer is that what Zelensky is going to achieve, he's going to show Donald Trump that he is a sensible politician who is able to compromise, who is able to work on things in an inventive way, someone who is also backed by European allies. So that is, I think, a net plus for Zelensky. But as I said, answering the first question, Putin thinks that he is in full control of the situation and can continue the war. So I do not believe that Trump can convince him. We already saw them meeting in Anchorage in August, and absolute nothing, zero, came out of it, apart from this imitation diplomacy that Russian envoys initiated with Steve Witkoff and others. But net result is still zero.
DW's Russia analyst Konstantin Eggert there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.